Hey there, and welcome to Get Messy. I'm Maddie, your host, and the Olympics are currently happening. I think at the time that this episode is posted, they will have just been finished. I'm very, very, very into sports. And so the Olympics has been on every single day, morning, noon, and night in my house. My husband has politely asked me two different times when the Olympics are ending because he doesn't understand how I can watch essentially versions of the same sport over and over and over again every single day and still be enthralled and enthused. But here I am. Also, I'm wearing this new turtleneck and I don't know if I like it. And what's really sad is I ordered it and I accidentally ordered two of the same one, which is weird. So I returned one of them. And as the return got processed, apparently I clicked some button that said to re-fulfill the item as I returned it. So I then got another duplicate of the same sweater. And I think I should have just returned all of it in general. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see what I'm talking about. I think it's just like too close to my skin complexion. Anyways, whenever the Olympics roll around, specifically the Winter Olympics, I'm bulldozed by this memory of a conversation I had with my mom. I did the math, and this conversation would have happened during the 2006 Winter Olympics in Turin, Italy, where I would have been approximately 12 years old. This was a big year for speed skater Apolo Anton Ohno, back when he had that little goatee. I've checked recently his Instagram and he no longer has the goatee. Thank God. I think that was a good thing to retire. I remember my uncle used to call it a cookie duster, which always really, really grossed me out. I have since learned that cookie duster is just slang for mustache, but 12-year-old me thought I don't know, it like grossed me out. I thought it clearly meant something way more scandalous than it actually was. So anyways, I was watching Apollo Anton Ohno win all of these gold medals, and he was gritty. He was confident, but also humble. He was the heartthrob of those Olympic Games as far as my 12-year-old self was concerned. And I would watch him night after night on prime time. I was so excited to like rush home from school, do my homework, and turn on the Olympics. And one night after watching him win yet again another gold medal of those games, I told my mom I wanted to speed skate. I wanted to find lessons. I wanted to try it out. I was just so curious and I was just so enthralled. And she flat out told me no. I don't even know if her eyes moved from the TV to meet mine. She barely entertained it. She actually didn't entertain it. And I was distraught, obviously. And I asked her why. And she said, because you're speed skating in your head. I had no idea what the heck she was talking about and pressed her further to give me a chance. Sign me up, try. Let's just see. Let's just please let me try. And she pretty much said, you're watching someone's best moments of their lives in this sport. You're not watching everything that went into them getting there. In your head, this looks fun and this looks easy because he's winning and winning and winning and winning. But what's not in your head is all of the hard work. And even though there's a part of me that wishes she just signed me up and just let me see, which to her credit, she did sign me up for a lot of shit. I mean, I did softball, I did ice skating, I did horseback riding lessons, I did tennis, tons and tons and tons of acting classes. Like, to her credit in all of this, she was right. I was picturing myself getting the glory. I was romanticizing the reward. I was practicing in my head, but I wasn't factoring in the amount of work it would take for me to actually get there. And I will say, there's been a lot of things in my life that I've tried and I've committed to and I've doubled down on or I've tripled down on, and I've just fought and fought and fought until I've either won the fight or I was removed from the ring by an external source. But there has been a lot of times where shiny object syndrome has gotten the best of me, which I hate to admit because I feel like I'm someone who shows up and really, really gives their all. My husband actually was the one who pointed this out to me, which made it all the more annoying. And he was like, I sometimes feel like you have shiny object syndrome. And I was extremely caught off guard and obviously wanted to be very, very defensive because that particular thing to me is like someone who doesn't follow through, someone who doesn't show up for themselves or doesn't work hard enough or doesn't try enough to see if something can work. But upon further evaluation, there was a couple instances where I was like, I know what he means. Like, I did try and I did work hard, but I didn't really double down or triple down to actually see the thing all the way through. So now when an idea seems juicy and exciting and I want to give up my entire life as I know it to dive all in, I pause and I acknowledge that I want the reward, but am I willing to pay the price? Am I willing to make the sacrifice for the potential to even get the reward? Because the sacrifice is inevitable. It always comes first. And even with the sacrifice, the reward is never guaranteed in pretty much almost everything. And I'm not saying anything you put your mind to, you should have no boundaries and sacrifice every ounce of your personal well being to pursue it. But in most things that you are excited to go after and most things that you are like really passionate to pursue, there's going to be sacrifices that need to be made. So I was thinking about myself and I was thinking about what have I doubled down and tripled down on? What have been some things in my life that I've chosen to make this sacrifice for? And the past few years, voiceover has gotten way more urgent and chaotic and hectic than ever before. It was always urgent, chaotic, and hectic, but even more so post COVID. And during COVID, we were all required to build our own home studios if we hadn't already. And since we were at home doing nothing during COVID, audition timelines and turnaround times for jobs became shorter and shorter because essentially we'd be asked like, hey, have this audition done in an hour, have this audition done in 3 hours, hey, can you do this job tomorrow? And we would all say yes because we could. So fast forward a few years, life has obviously changed tremendously back to never full normalcy, but we all live much more active lives than we were during COVID, obviously. And sometimes it still feels like the voiceover industry literally thinks we are still waiting, like in our booths, just like waiting for the phone to ring for an audition opportunity or a job, like a la COVID. And so the turnaround time for availability and booking jobs has shrunk so much. I've had more day of sessions and day of bookings than I've ever had before. I don't know if in the past before COVID, I ever had a job where it was like, we need you today. That's not true. There was one for Volkswagen where it was like, literally my agent called me, fire drill, fire drill. We need you on the west side of Los Angeles. And I lived in the valley within an hour. Can you do it? I was like, I don't know if the traffic gods will let me, but we'll see. So, okay, that one instance, now it is no longer a fire drill. It's like, what are you doing at noon today? And I'm like, didn't know I was possibly gonna be working today. This is great. I'm always down to work, but like I was really hoping to go to that Matt Pilates class. Guess I am no longer, which is why I work out in the mornings. So it typically can't be interrupted. So, if we do get booked for a job, dates are constantly changing. Sometimes scripts are given to us so last minute. Sometimes scripts aren't given to us until we are in a session and ready to start recording, and we still don't have the scripts. Since equipment has gotten cheaper and less clunky, it's expected that if you're traveling, you're able to audition and possibly do a job anywhere in the world that you are. I have found myself studios in New Orleans, Phoenix, Amsterdam, Tulum, and Japan, all while having my full setup with me to do a job, just in case I couldn't find a studio. And mind you, my husband and I travel. We do not check bags. So this is me sacrificing pretty much entire pieces of wardrobe to make room for my equipment. I have worked on every single vacation I've been on the last 3 years, and every single time, none of those jobs were booked before I left for the vacation. The industry has just gotten ridiculously fast. And so I have a very good friend who also is in VO, and they started in voiceover kind of like right before COVID. So a lot of their more professional experience has been post COVID. And she thought about the sacrifice I make, specifically choosing to be more or less available all the time and lugging pounds of shit with me on international vacations. And she said she wasn't sure if she wanted to make that sacrifice, where even if she's not traveling to Japan, even if she's going home to visit her family, not on some big trip, she's not sure if she wants to be available and possibly jump into performance mode at a moment's notice. She's honest with herself that she wants the reward. She wants to be booking big, awesome, juicy, meaty, fabulous jobs in voiceover, but needs to be choosy about what sacrifice she makes. And even if that limits the level of reward right now, that's okay for her. I've been doing voiceover for 10 years. I've had a lot of luck. I've worked very, very hard. The industry has become so competitive. Also, because I swear during COVID, everyone in the world bought a microphone because, again, it's cheaper and not as difficult to achieve broadcast quality. That was hard. I feel like, again, I'm not great with the tech side of things. I know enough to get the job done. I know slightly more than enough to get the job done. But 10 years ago, I felt like broadcast quality was very difficult to achieve because it was very expensive. Now, not that hard. More jobs have shifted from union to non-union. There's just been a lot of constant shift and movement in the industry. And I had to real talk myself and be like, okay, you're choosing to be in the game. What does that look like for me? What does me being in the game now, not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, but right now, what does that look like? What actions do I need to take to make sure when I go up to bat, sure, I may strike out. I strike out more than I do anything else. But God damn it, if I swing, every now and then I'm going to have a good swing. And sometimes I'll hit a base run and maybe get an avail or a callback. And sometimes I will freaking hit a home run and get that sweet, sweet booking. This is my current version of being in the game and the sacrifice that matches it. So, I go to classes, I keep up with casting directors, I'm always asking for feedback. I do pretty much almost every single audition that comes my way, unless something crazy happens where I'm not able to do it, which is very, very rare. And if a job comes up day of, if I can make it work, will typically say yes, unless I think there's something about my current situation that I won't be able to give my best performance. That's why if I really can't do it, I book out, and you will see in my book out emails, I'll be like, traveling these days could work this and this time. Absolutely cannot work this day. And I make it hyper, hyper, hyper clear, because even when I've made it hyper clear, they still nudge and they will still try. And it is sometimes very difficult when there's a lot of money on the line to say no. And I've had to before. And guess what? Usually people will adjust. I've also been doing this for a hot minute and I've made some really good relationships. So I feel a little bit more comfortable to do that. Still work in progress. So all of this to say, this is my current version of being in the game, and my sacrifices match what this current version looks like. It's also the expectation of my agents. And I know I can choose to set certain boundaries against that. I'm very, very aware. But right now, that's not the choice I'm making. I'm choosing to be more or less very, very available. That could change. That will change, I'm sure, when I'm a mom or other things could happen in my life, but I'm very clear on the sacrifices I'm willing to make for this game that I'm in and this current thing that I'm pursuing, and what that looks like for my lifestyle. How does that affect my time, my nervous system, me financially, my energy levels, my relationships? I mean, there's been times my husband and I have had dinner reservations, which is rare for us. We're typically like fly by the seat of our pants people. And that was the day that all of a sudden I had 2 sessions that day and they needed me to redo something at 6 p.m. that night. It happens. And that is flexibility I'm willing to have, and I'm willing to sacrifice a couple of things around that to make that happen. If I look at some things that I want moving forward, what are some other things I want to do? What are some other, more or less, like when I say I want to like get in the game, what games do I want to get into? There's a part of me that really wants to get into public speaking. And I did a little bit of it a few years ago, but it was online for COVID times. So it was way, way different of like, yes, I would prep. Yes, I would, go back and forth with getting things outlined and written. And then I would do the public speaking event and then I was done. And I'd be able to like essentially just turn on my computer, do the thing, and leave. That's not the case anymore. A lot of people who do public speaking that I know are going in person to do this. So I had to real talk myself and be like, okay, you think this is something that you really want to do. What does an action plan look like? Where do you need to start? What are you starting with? What do you not have that you need to have to make this a reality? Where do I want to go? What's standing in my way? What obstacles am I facing? All those kind of questions to kind of extrapolate what is it that I'm working with and kind of poke holes in my theory. Okay, like what things could come up that would make this really difficult? And like, what does actually putting this into action look like to start making moves towards the thing I want? And I've completely hesitated on taking any action besides answering some of the questions I just said and daydreaming about it. And I've kept thinking and thinking and thinking about it, but I've done absolutely nothing. Sometimes when I'm flipping through Instagram or on YouTube and I see someone else doing it, there's a small part of me that's like, damn, why am I still not taking action to try this thing? And that pesky thought creeps back into my head. Oh, I'm speed skating in my head. Oh, I'm public speaking in my head. I like the validation and the fact that it combines my love of performing, so to speak, and kind of like being in the spotlight and connecting with a group of people and sharing ideas. And there's a storytelling element to it. And I get to talk about something like mindset or, something that's mental health related, which is one of my other passions and things that I love. I want the glory. I want the good feeling that comes from the reward of speaking in front of a bunch of people, connecting with them, and then validating like, yeah, that was really great. We felt impacted by what you shared today. So I want the reward. I want the glory, but do I want the sacrifice? And I have a friend who is a very, very, very good public speaker. And he's spent probably 7 or 8 years at this point building up his brand. And he gets asked by some of the biggest companies in the world to come speak in front of their C-suite or speak in front of thousands of their employees at like their annual employee conference. And Sometimes he's traveling. A lot of times he's traveling for more than half the month, literally hopping from place to place. He saw some places that he doesn't even have time to see and get to experience because he's busy prepping, he's busy putting himself in the right mindset. He's tired from all the traveling that he's doing. He's trying to conserve his energy so that he has it when he goes out on stage. He's missing his wife throughout all of this. He's needing to be on all the time and bring such a high energy level to every single talk because these people who are seeing him night after night after night, they're all different people. They're paying him a lot of money to come in and offer something impactful. And he has to bring that experience to every single talk that he does. He needs to be so present. He's obviously sharing part of his story. So being so vulnerable and having the expectation of impacting people with what it is that he's sharing and the way that he's specifically sharing it to help them elicit change. People are essentially paying him a ton of money because they believe he is worth it to help motivate their employees to make changes. And helping someone facilitate making changes is very, very hard. It's why a lot of us hire coaches or hire therapists because doing it on our own, left to our own devices, we will keep doing the same behaviors that we are doing over and over and over again, even if we want to change. It is just the truth. More on that later because I find it fascinating. So back to thinking about this, thinking about my friend and being like, okay, I see the glory. I want the glory, but I see the sacrifices that he makes. And there's a part of me that feels like I could do that. And there's a part of me that thinks, okay, I could do that. I think there's a part of me that could like that. I think there's a part of me that could work hard enough to try to make it happen. And then there's a part of me that's like, damn, I really like working from home most days and being around my husband. I like going to my workout studio 5 days a week and walking around my neighborhood. And I like being able to leisurely cook while I'm watching some shitty Bravo show or Love is Blind or old episodes of Grey's Anatomy, which sometimes I can't do when I'm cooking because of the gory content. So right now with aspects of my lifestyle that I love, I'm not sure if it's a lifestyle match for this season of my life to actively go after this goal of public speaking. I don't know if the season of life that I'm in right now supports that. So real talk, I'm not willing to make that sacrifice. So I need to let that romantic idea of the glory drift away for now. And I can revisit it when and if I'm ready to make that sacrifice. I might not be, but I think I have the tools to decipher if it pops back up into my head, the conversation I need to have with myself to understand, okay, is this real or am I speed skating in my head? Is this something I'm willing to pound the pavement and double down and triple down for? Or do I really just want the glory and I really don't want to work that hard to make that type of sacrifice? You know, an Olympian trains for years for the potential of the reward and the glory, but they have to make the conscious decision to make the sacrifice without the guarantee of ever being rewarded. So you are interested in different goals and passions through different seasons of your life. Maybe you've had the same goal and passion for multiple seasons of your life. That's kind of like me with the entertainment industry. So whether you are in this hot and heavy pursuit of something currently, or you're about to dive into a new project where you feel lost and like there's nothing calling to your heart right now, which happens. I've had many seasons like that as well. If you're picturing these things that you want, that sound juicy, that sound romantic, if you're picturing what the possible reward of the journey could be, and it feels, it just feels delicious. It feels romantic. Does the sacrifice you're going to have to make to get there, to get to the glory, feel worth it for you right now? Worthy of your time, your money, your energy, or maybe doing an entire lifestyle swap to try to make it happen. And if it does feel worthy, Godspeed, go after it, go big, baby. That is my phrase of 2026, go big, baby. And if it doesn't feel like it's the right thing to make the sacrifice for, can you give yourself permission to gently put this thing down and maybe revisit it in a different season of life? So as you're thinking about the glory, as you're thinking about the sacrifices you have to make, can you ask yourself, am I speed skating in my head? Or am I actually willing to lace up my skates and get my butt out on the ice? And that is it for today. I'm rooting for you today and always. You're the real hero if you've made it this far. Thanks so much for hanging out today, and check out the show notes for any resources or cool info mentioned in today's episode, or places to follow along if you want to hang out some more. I'm rooting for you today and always. Stay messy.